Hello, James here. I wanted to play a video by one this guy. He calls himself. His page is called Runaway Slave, and it's something that really questions me about people who you run with, who you have friends with, and it's just consistent with the. It's come off the part of the story came off when the one young woman went down to Mexico, and her friends turned on her and basically beat her up to the point that they snapped her neck and killed her. So I'm going to here and play the video, and then I'm going to commentary between it, and I'm going to give you the reason why afterwards.
Suspects are possibly white, or we know that they're white. It's not really like that, The response is not really like that, and I think this is because a lot of our people have been socially engineered to like cry for like swift justice and accountability when black people are the suspects. And I also believe that that's a genetic tag that we carry from slavery as well, from just being scared and just want to show white folks that we're willing to take our own to the back and beat our own and hold us accountable. Look at me, Mr. White Man. Look at me whipping these black people's butts. Some plantation stuff. Black parents and some. There were a lot of black parents at one point. They just loved to just beat black kids in front of white folks and everything. I'll get them, Mr. Whitey. I'll show them. Don't worry, sir. This is a lot of this is some genetic illness that we carry from slavery. Actually, there's a sister by the name of Stacy Patton. She wrote a book about this. It's called That Me Know Yesterday. I think that's what it's called. That Me Know Yesterday. I think that's the name of the book. Stacy Patton, and it talks about real good book, and it talks about black parents wanting to whip kids and stuff like that all the time, and a lot of these beatings that they want to do to kids, they come from slavery. Okay, and that plays into this because I believe that a lot of black people are like socially engineered or programmed to always want to show that they want to hold black people accountable, which they should, but it's not a system of justice unless you want to do the same thing for white people as well, you know. Anyway, back to it. When white people need to be held accountable, the media does not like to cover these stories. These other celebrity shine bone Negroes, they don't like to cover these stories. You know, people who can help get this information out by using their celebrity influence, they don't like to cover these stories, because there's so many of them for them to cover, Accountability for white folks, no, you know. And you hear these people say things like, oh, we can't say nothing till we get ourselves together. We can't talk about that, We can't do this. We got to get ourselves. Look at how we treat each other. Anyway, don't get this confused with the fact that I believe that these people who did this to Shanquella Robinson should get 700 years. Anybody who unjustly takes the life of another human being needs to get a whole bunch of time behind bars, period. I don't care what color they are, I don't care, how the media responds or what they choose, the information that they choose to let you hear about and see. That will be a system of justice right there. Shanquella went to Mexico. This happened in Mexico. The American media went super crazy. They were super happy to talk about it. This was an opportunity for a lot of Negroes to come out and just, be super happy and show white people that they are willing to hold their own people accountable. Look at this. We got to do better and all this other stuff. I mean, a lot of that is a real big show, y'all. A lot of that is a real big show. And I believe that this is due to a lot of social engineering, man. Social engineering by the religion of white supremacy. And just a lot of our people just feeling worthless as black people, from so many years of racial battle fatigue and feeling helpless. It takes a toll. And I think that a lot of us respond like this now. Some other reasons why I don't believe that this would have been a major viral story had Shanquella went to Mexico with white people, okay? Because the same thing with the same outcomes happen to black youths here in America all the time. All the time. Because there are white kids or white people involved, no coverage from the media, no viral response, nobody using their their celebrity influence to push these stories. You know, we're not talking about accountability anymore. These things happen to black youths in America all the time. Same outcome. Shanquella lost her life. These black youths are losing their lives, okay? And I really believe that this Shanquella story went out and it went viral, and so many people are talking about it, and it's plastered everywhere because the suspects involved were black. I seen too much or looked into too much to believe otherwise. I could just go off, the stories on my channel right here alone. You can scroll down. You can look at the stories. Elijah Nicky Witherspoon, he goes on a boat with all white people. Great swimmer, ends up dead. Nobody knows what happened. No big story. Tamla Horsford, of course, we know about that. That kind of scratched the surface and came out a little bit after a while. Same thing. House full of white people. She ends up dead. No big deal. Lena Lacey, black high school student in North Carolina, hanging in the park. White crackhead girlfriend. The whole community wanted him. No big story. Michaela Miller. She's at a white friend's house. Later on, they have a little fight or whatever. She hung herself in the woods, living in Boston. I think they try to say she put her belt around her neck. This is a young black child, high school age, okay? Bakari Henderson goes to Greece with all them white folks. He ends up dead, killed by white folks. Nobody's held accountable. Peter Spencer, Pennsylvania, he goes out in the woods on a cabin trip with white folks. He's in a cabin. He got about 5 million shots in him. I'm exaggerating, but a lot of shots. Nobody charged. Lavina Johnson, military, overseas, white folks, dead. Her father still trying to get justice for her. Gloria Bambo, in a house with a white roommate. She hung herself in a room, and they claimed that she was there for days and nobody knew. Nobody charged. Gregory Johnson, San Jose State, young black man, honor student, wrestling team, had everything ahead of him. House full of white boys, frat boys. He's in a basement dead, hanging from a pipe, where all he had to do was stand up so he wasn't hanging anymore. Makes no sense. 4-year-old Israel Scott goes to swimming class, tells his mom he don't want to go. He ends up dead. Case still pending. No big media frenzy. Durante Martin, 19, goes to a house party full of white folks in Missouri. Dead. Nobody's charged. Talia Lowe, young black girl, college student, good girl, gets in the car with white college buddies, goes on a road trip, ends up dead. She's beat down, her hair is pulled out, she ends up in the water. She's there with white girls and white guys. No big media outlets covering this. No pressure from these shine-bone Negro celebrities. She's gone. Terrence Woods Jr. goes out in the woods. Well, he did go out in the woods, yeah. For a movie set. He's like a movie producer, whatever. He's out there with a bunch of white folks. Boom. He disappeared. Never to be seen again. No big media frenzy.
Amid global market volatility, stock market losses and rising inflation have left investors with few options.
Boom. He disappeared. Never to be seen again. No big media frenzy. Christopher Tompkins goes to work with white people as a land surveyor. He goes out in the woods, never seen him again. Nobody's arrested. Tyler Lewis. I think this was the most recent one. Tyler Lewis, college upstate in Buffalo, goes to a nearby campus at the State University of New York. White folks at a party. He ends up dead. Nobody arrested. No media frenzy. ATM Murray, cookout with white folks, bats in the head. White suspect out right now walking around. No big media frenzy. And then there was some that I didn't even cover. There was one, Alonzo Brooks, because that was kind of covered on some other major outlets. Alonzo Brooks went to a house party full of white people, ends up dead. No arrest, nothing to this day. Kendrick Johnson, Georgia, he's rolled up in wrestling mats. No big media stories. His organs are all out of him. Ends up dead. Now, Shanquella goes to Mexico with black people. The same thing happened to her. She gets killed. Big media story, big coverage. All these celebrity shine-bone Negroes want to talk about accountability. We got to do better. Look at what happened. All the major networks, the CNNs, the ABC, NBCs, whatever, they all covering this story. So I'm supposed to believe that these people are really sincere about Shanquella Robinson's life or even care? Not at all. Not at all. Because she's no different than any one of these other people that I named or these stories that I cover on this channel. She's the same to them. She's no different. She's no different. The same things that happen in Mexico with Shanquella are happening with black youths in America all the the time, very often, you know. And I just scratched the surface with some of these stories on this channel, you know. And when this happens to these black youths, no big media stories, none of that. No White House press, you know, lady being asked questions about these things, like the situation with Shanquella Robinson, because the suspects are black only. It just don't add up that these people really even care about her. It just doesn't add up. It doesn't add up, you know, because it happens in America so much. They want a big story. There are black suspects involved. Let's put this out there. Let's talk about accountability and all this other stuff, okay? You know, big media frenzy, viral news, only because the suspects are black. Had the suspects been white, no, you wouldn't be seeing it like that. You would have to dig for Shanquella's story if that happened. You know, you would be hearing things like, oh, well, she left a note and she was depressed and all that, and they will go to other people saying, oh, well, last time I seen her, she really didn't look right when she was looking happy. So happy she went on vacation, you know, things like that. This is the type of stuff they do, you know. And then, you know, people would say, oh, well, you know, the Shanquella situation, it was different because it was on camera and this and that, and they had the video of it. Listen, man, that's the okie doke. That's the okie doke. This whole taking videos and pictures of these things like that, that's something that they've been doing in American history. When these situations happen to these black youths, you know, when they go on these parties in these houses and they go places, they got video too, man. They got pictures and stuff like that. Not all of them, but enough of them. But they know how to form Pale Voltron and they don't put it out. Listen, in our history, when a white community knew that they were going to, you know, chop a black person up or lynch them or even have a picnic where they would lay a black person on twigs and smoke them to death while they scream, guess what? The newspapers came out. The media was there. Lights, camera, action. They were all there with their cameras. They would put this on postcards. They would celebrate. They were showing these things on camera. You can go look it up for yourself, you know. So I would never believe that when these things happen to these black youths, that these people don't have video and camera and stuff like that. They got it, man. Maybe not all of it, but they got enough of it because this is the type of stuff that they do. This is what they like to do, you know. So the excuse that, oh well, the situation with Shanquella was on video, so it's nah. These white folks on these boats and these parties and things like that, you know, frat houses and cabins and places where it's a house full of white people, closed in environments, one or two black people, you know, they got cameras and stuff too. They're doing their little videos. They are taking pictures. This is just something that they always did in America. They love taking pictures and recording and getting video of black people being tortured. Check the history. Check the history. They will cut people's balls off, smoke them on twigs, hang women and cut the stomach open so the baby falls out, stomp on the baby's head and all this stuff. They were taking pictures back then of this stuff. They would grab parts and take them home and parade with them. This is American. This is American as apple pie and Chevrolet. So for somebody to say that these situations where these black youths go out and they're in these environments and nobody got no camera and no pictures, yes they do. They like that type of stuff, man. That's an American pastime, you know. So again, these people who did this to Shanquella Robinson, yes, I do believe they deserve 700 years in prison, lock them up, whatever. They should be held accountable, or whatever Shanquella's family wants to happen, I believe that should happen. But I'm not impressed by the big media response, you know, the Negro Shine Bone celebrity response to this. I know that these people don't care about Shanquella any more than any one of these other black youths that I name, and based off my research and coverage, I can't think otherwise. You know what I'm saying? I can't think otherwise because it just would be foolish to me. But anyway, easy.
That's a real interesting insight on when it comes to covering missing people. They end up deceased and how, but that's true. There's a double standard, and it seems like people really don't care when it comes to black people. I mean, it's like, you know, people will probably go out and put out a bulletin board for an animal before they come to a black person. I mean, it's the truth. And it's like you just see there's so much discarded for people that look like us in this country. It's just wow. And then he's right, how we are like that as a people. We are. I mean, we say we want to go in on somebody hard, on us to the point that just to punish somebody, to bully it, or just to, if it almost lead to practically a person hanging on the doorstep just to show that they got control of it, and that's true, and it's really sad. But yeah, I have noticed that, man. It's really, it gives you something to think about, and something that we don't even like to even talk about, but it's true when it comes to us, and I think we do suffer from that. And what made me what made me pull up that video, because I think as black people we do battle through racial fatigue, and so that's why I can't see how anybody can get mad or jealous of another black person that want to leave the country and maybe live in another place, because it's been so indoctrinated in us and trying to please in their own terminology, massa, that we go hard on each other. I mean, really hard, and we'll turn on each other in a minute. And he's right. He's absolutely right. If you really sit down and think about it, we really have that disdain for each other. Some of us have that disdain, jealousy, resentment. I mean, in the case of Shinquella, you know, the young woman had dreams, and they see so-called friends, they destroyed her family. You know, it was really, really sad, and my heart goes out to her family. But it's just that we are in society that, as black people, we battle racial fatigue. He's right. He's absolutely right. And it's mentally, he have done stories where even on the job, you're going through a battle fatigue, because you got people playing jokes on you and harassing black people, and black people just trying to mind their own business and do their job, and you hear some horrible things. And it's like these people can't stand you. And then some people, like I was thinking about the one time I think he did one where the men were on his job in the Coca-Cola factory, I believe it was, either Coca-Cola, one of those places. And they went through so much racism that mentally one was able to go back to work no more. And you just never know, man. People say, just life come tough it out, but some people, when you go through so much of it, it wears on you. And sometimes, and I said, and this can be for anybody that can travel but to get away, and if you have to go to a continent full of black people, do what you gotta do to save your sanity, because we've been so indoctrinated with racial issues. It's not even funny, and it has taken a toll on our self-esteem, that we don't even like each other. We turn on each other even more. And what made me do these videos on that young woman is because you can see the division, and you can see the people that's willing to turn against each other for somebody who they barely even know, but just to seek that validation from that young woman, and here that really would have respect for each other, even though statistically, mentally, and physically, some of us are dying out. And it's because sometimes there's things in this country you can say it's great on one hand, but on the other hand, it's like, damn, it makes you feel like, at times is it really great? It's like that one guy called it "Damn America," because it seems like you go through things, and that it's so unnecessary. You work hard, and for someone to get jealous of you simply because you color your skin and you try to live your life, and they can use the privilege card to stop you from banking, to stop you from, call the police on you, to stop you from, you go into battle and you see other people that look similar to you on the job. They don't just go about their everyday life, and it's just, you see it. You can see the effects of ancient slavery. You see it. I mean, you really see it. You see it generation after generation. We don't want to admit that as black people, but we do. We go through something like this.
Give me 1 to 2 weeks, and I'll show you how you can start your own successful online.
Assalamu alaikum. Okay, so what I had to do for this channel is create an email list. The reason why is because due to the nature of the content of this channel, I don't know when the content is going to just mysteriously disappear or this channel will be shut down. The email list is just for the followers or the subs so that you know where these things are just in case this mysteriously happens. So just go down to the link in the description of the video, click join email list, put your email address in there, and boom, you're good to go. That means that I can also send you other information that I cannot post here on YouTube, and you'll also know where the channel is and where the content is in the event that it does disappear. Okay, let's cook.
Mr. Styles, would you like to come up and teach the class? Yeah, I can do that. Very well, come on up. Instruct us. And what will be the basis of your lecture?
Okay, alright, does anybody know what the name of this place is?
That's Africa, I know that.
That's right, that's Africa. But did you know that Africa is the place where the body of the first man was found? My daddy says that makes it a place where all people originated from. That means everybody's really from Africa. Everybody. All y'all. Everybody.
I ain't from Africa, I'm from Crenshaw Mafia.
Like it or not, you from Africa.
I'm from Africa, you from Africa, you African booty scratcher.
Okay, so I have to clear some things up about a recent video that I made, which was titled about Native Americans having a dislike, or why many Native Americans do not like black people. Okay, so first I gotta say, had I known that this video was going to go out there and just go super viral like that, I would have titled it differently, because there are some things that I understood before I made that video. But you know how this channel goes. I thought that was just going to go to my usual followers. Most of the videos on this channel, they do not let them go out in the algorithm, but I already knew that, okay? But that one got out there, okay? But anyway, now, first thing I got to say about that video, first off, at the end of the day, regardless of what somebody may say they are, whether they say they are black, a native, white, a Caucasian, a Persian, I don't know, an African American, an African, a native, whatever you are, if you are a human being, at the end of the day, we know all we take to our grave is our deeds. Point blank, period, okay? So that's the bottom line here with a lot of things. All we take to our grave is our deeds. So, with that being said, I'm a foundational black American descendant of slavery as well. My people come from the death fields in the South. We face genocide, systemic oppression from the government who practice the religion of white supremacy and Satanism, okay? Now in that video, I went over the fact that there were 5 so-called civilized tribes who helped the government oppress my people for their own greed and personal gain in a cowardly way, okay? Now remember, These 5 civilized tribes that I named in this video were the Cherokee, the Chickasaw, the Choctaw, Creek, and Seminole.
Huh. I think I did a video on that one, but I'm sorry. I saw something I want to point out. It's right in here. Let me see how many minutes I got. Okay. I just saw that video. Okay. It's a lot easier. I'm glad that I got talent that can able to go up with my speed. It's my cheap way of editing. Let me see. But this is something what this woman said. Check this out.
On March 9th,
this woman says.
2022, our Commander-in-Chief signed an executive order that aims to give Washington at least nearly...
How I feel about this, like, let me just play a few of the videos.
This video called "White Woman Called Out for Doing This, Black Trauma." It's called Nabia Lee. This is her video.
So first of all, it's a weird hobby. I don't think it's a crime. It's not a direct attack or hate on black people or whatever. But I think what people found problematic is the fact that she kind of romanticized the houses and the era in which they were built and the people that lived in them. And she's like, oh, it's so beautiful. This couch is lovely. And then in the comment section, you can see a lot of fellow colored women and men talking about, it's so beautiful. I wish I could buy that dresser. That mirror is gorgeous. I can imagine the era, the lifestyle, and this and that. It's like there's a part of their brain that shuts off and they feel like they do not understand, or maybe they feel like it never happened. The kind of agony and oppression and all of that happened in such homes and such plantations. And it's just so weird to me. Like, do you guys have any idea what happened in those places that you're talking about and romanticizing and making it look as if it was all good and beautiful and dandy and everybody was happy in those homes? It's weird. It's so weird. And people called her out when she made this video.
Okay, so this is the Nolan plantation. Plantation was used, of course, in 1800s. Those little houses were tenant homes.
Let me play people's responses to that video.
Nolan plantation.
Go back, read the comment section as much as you can take it. They weren't tenant homes. They weren't. It's a plantation. They were enslaved Africans. It's like you guys get off on this as if an itch you can't scratch for enjoyment. There are people within the comment section telling you to stop, that you're ignorant. It's like you like the trauma our ancestors go through and still to today. You're part of the problem.
Were tenant home?
Tenant homes? Why don't you just say what they are, because we all know. Why are you trying to hide it? And on top of that, why are you romanticizing a time in which people were owned as property and treated as less than human on that beautiful property you're standing on? I guess I missed the part where that's beautiful, or the breathtaking part escaped me. I'd love to know where I missed it at. There are mutuals of mine in your comment section saying that their family lived on that plantation. So you didn't think that a trigger warning may have been beneficial when posting this? It'll never not be weird to me, and I know we shouldn't be shocked, but it'll never not be weird that people romanticize that time. And even to the point of where they get married at places like this. Our trauma is their entertainment.
Little houses were tenant homes.
So as someone that grew up around the country where there were a lot of these plantations, we were raised to be desensitized and not really understand the violence, atrocities, horrible things that happened on these pieces of land. You can even see in her video, she's showing a video of enslaved quarters where enslaved people lived and raised families and were beaten, and she calls them tenant homes. And this is how I was raised. I was raised like this. But I'm late to class, but once you understand and really humanize what happened and the effects of that, watching videos like this now are very, very hard because you know the truth of what happened there.
Were tenant homes.
Believe it or not, but I use trading softwares like this to generate thousands of dollars a month for me.
See, black life don't matter to some people. It's a joke.
Were tenant homes.
Tenant homes? Or are those things that the slaves were given while they were on a plantation? They'd probably get in, they'd probably get tortured in. Why are you glamorizing it? Why are you calling it a tenant home? It's a plantation here in Georgia. You're trying to show off some beautiful masterpiece, but you're hiding the fact that it has a very dark history, an ugly truth behind it. Don't try to pretty it up. Those were slave homes. Homes, not tenant homes, ma'am. You're weird, Karen. Really.
Were tenant homes.
Tenant homes? If we're gonna continue to visit plantations like it's Disneyland, we can at least just say what it was, okay? The public should see these places, but not like this. Not the way, let's not even call those homes, okay? We know exactly what they were for, so let's not do that. You're weird for making it glamorous.
You know why people do that? I'm gonna show you why. Here's a quick video.
I started collecting racist objects when I was a teenager, and the stuff was everywhere. At a certain point, I ended up with thousands of pieces. I didn't know what I would do with it. I just thought a lot about what it meant to be a person of color living during Jim Crow. Had no intention of creating a museum, but the collection kept growing. So in the 1990s, I gave my collection to the university. It took 15 years, but in 2012, we opened this museum. I have lots of respect for museums that celebrate African American history, that celebrate African American accomplishment, but that's not what this facility was. I wanted to create an actual racism facility, to have people focused on this specific topic in terms of our history. So if you just have a society with millions of just postcards like this, does that reinforce certain ideas about black people and white people? Some of the best discussions we have in the museum are about the word nigger, which sounds kind of weird, by the way, because I'm a sociologist and we don't believe words have any inherent meaning. They're just sound signs that we give. But we do believe that people, once the meanings are given, that they are shared.
I mean, no piece is inherently racist. It's a racist society which will create racist objects and will racialize other objects. That's why the watermelon has a racial. There's nothing inherent about a watermelon that makes it racist. But you know darn well that it's been racialized.
Someone looking at Aunt Jemima objects or other mammy images they don't think of that as offensive. They think of good times spent with their families. It's very nostalgic. Someone else looking at those same pieces, they see the vestiges of slavery and segregation. So often we're not deciding that something is racist, but what we are doing are collecting pieces that help us talk about racism. We have lots of friends of the museum, and we receive hundreds of pieces a year. The first director of the museum, he said to me one day, hey, there's a couple guys I want you to meet.
Here we go. Here's some Jim Crow related materials. These are the dowels. And some of them are older, some are newer.
These are like 1950s.
This is
male
cute.
and female.
Yeah, those are really interesting.
They are. Our group of friends were all collecting this because we realized what it said about our society and what it said about where we were in the past and where maybe we still were. When we met David Pilgrim and the whole Jim Crow Museum and all of that, it was like, finally, there's a place where we can put
A
this.
sense of relief that we could let go of these objects so other people could learn from it.
We have some understanding of bigotry. We have some understanding of being the outsider or not being accepted or being told that we are not welcomed, we can't be accepted, you have no place here. I think because we've experienced that in our own lives, because we're gay, there's a little transference there to trying to help understand the even bigger question of bigotry and then likewise racism. Wow, this is really racist. This is an ashtray where the black washerwoman, she has her one breast stuck in the wringer and so she's hollering. My God, that's also sexist. I think the Jim Crow would love
This is
that.
the Jim Crow. This is on multiple levels. This is a wonderful piece.
Once we finally discovered the Jim Crow Museum, it gave us more impetus to go out and find, collect, save.
They now have at least 500 things from us. By collecting those things, we get a broader picture of how racism continued all the way up into the 60s and 70s and still continues. I've seen things about President Obama that were horrible.
I think people who go to the Jim Crow Museum are often surprised when they see something from 2015 as racist as many of the things from 100 years ago. And we've had friends who are a complete mess after they've left because suddenly they've been confronted with the truth.
For many years when I traveled, I would say that the United States, despite this history of enslavement and Jim Crow, that we are today more democratic and more egalitarian than we've ever been. And I stopped saying that about 2 years ago. I'm not suggesting that we are back in the Jim Crow period. Don't get it twisted. It's not like that. But what I am saying is I hear and see a level of racist rhetoric that is reminiscent of when I was growing up in Alabama under Governor George Wallace. People say they don't want to talk about race, but they're doing it all the time. But they're not talking about it in places where their ideas can be challenged.
You know why I played that? Because it's a reality, and we still dealing with it in the 21st century. But most people don't want to understand the ugly. They don't want to understand what this is all about. They don't understand that we die outside the womb, but we also,
as founder of the American Birth Control League, which later became Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger was no doubt a controversial figure with disturbing views on eugenics, race, and population control. While some argue she even wanted to exterminate the black race, others are trying to erase that part of her past.
The Mike Wallace interview. In the eyes of some, Margaret Sanger has been a heroine. In the eyes of others, she's been a destructive force.
In her own words, Sanger pushed for a society that limited births to those she deemed fit to have children.
I think the greatest sin in the world is bringing children into the world that have disease from their parents, that have no chance in the world to be a human being, practically. Delinquents, prisoners, all sorts of things, just marked when they're born.
In 1916, Sanger opened the country's first birth control clinic. As a member of the American Eugenics Society, she advocated improving the genetic composition of humans through controlled reproduction of different races and classes. She often wrote about the issue in the journal she founded, called the Birth Control Review. In 1919, writing,
I personally believe in the sterilization of the feeble-minded, the insane, and the syphilitic. The most urgent problem today is how to limit and discourage the over-fertility of the mentally and physically defective.
Many point to a 1923 New York Times interview as proof of Sanger's racist motives, in which she referred to people as weeds, saying,
It means the release and cultivation of the better racial elements in our society, and the gradual suppression, elimination, and eventual extirpation of defective stocks, those human weeds which threaten the blooming of the finest flowers of American civilization.
Hayden Ludwig, an investigative researcher, has extensively studied Sanger's life and writings.
She talked about the need for race betterment through controlling these weeds, basically undesirable people.
In 1939, after opening another clinic in Harlem, the birth control activist launched the Negro Project, an initiative supported by black leaders, such as civil rights activist W.E.B. Du Bois. Critics claim the program used the pretense of better health and family planning for poor blacks in the South as an attempt to limit the black race. Ludwig says some on the left grapple with Sanger's past and how to interpret her legacy.
They know when she writes about human weeds, they know that it's repulsive. They know it's disgusting. The left will never abandon Margaret Sanger because if they do, she's the foundation of so many of their views.
Sanger once shared her vision for a preferred race at a women's branch of the Ku Klux Klan, writing in her autobiography,
Always, to me, any aroused group was a good group.
Despite those views, liberals praise Sanger's work while ignoring her history.
I admire Margaret Sanger enormously. Her courage, her tenacity, her vision. I am really in awe of her.
Ryan Baumberger, founder of the Radiance
Her
Foundation,
vision.
says
Hillary
abortion
Clinton said
proponents
this.
are working to clean up Sanger's past and what she stood for.
They have to reinvent her every time they talk about her in order to justify their celebration of her.
Former Planned Parenthood Director Abby Johnson says those inside the abortion industry are trained to overlook Sanger's racist views.
They give you an answer like, well, I mean, yes, Margaret Sanger was a racist, but everybody was a racist back then. You accept it because she is your hero. And she has to be your hero. You cannot question Planned Parenthood.
In 1997, Stephen Mosher of the Population Research Institute wrote about the push to repackage Margaret Sanger in the Wall Street Journal.
The reason I call it the repackaging of Margaret Sanger is because after the Nazi regime destroyed the legitimacy of eugenics forever, they then went back and said, oh, she was just an early feminist, she was just an early supporter of family planning. No, she wasn't. No, she was a supporter of giving IQ tests to people. She was in favor of using those IQ tests to determine who should be sterilized and who should have children.
In a response titled The Demonization of Margaret Sanger, Alexander Sanger, her grandson and president of Planned Parenthood at the time, called Mosher's editorial unfair. In the same piece, Esther Katz, director of NYU's Margaret Sanger Papers Project, claimed evidence revealing Sanger did not rationalize her support for birth control on racist grounds, that she never advocated genocidal policies aimed at racial, ethnic, or religious groups, and that she, in fact, believed access to birth control would benefit, not eliminate minority populations. Dr. Katz turned down our request for an interview, although in this article, the editor as public authority Interpreting Margaret Sanger, she wrote, "By our current highly sensitized standards, some of her attitudes and statements can be construed as racist, elitist, ethnocentric, and not politically correct." In 1942, Margaret Sanger's American Birth Control League became Planned Parenthood, which has moved to fulfill its founders' goals, helped greatly by the Supreme Court decision in Roe v. Wade.
Under the veil of secrecy and deception, 60 plus million babies have not been born because they were aborted legally since 73. 1/3 of that population belong to the African American community.
A frightening and telling number, given blacks make up only 13% of the U.S. population. Dan Gaynor of the Media Research Center says that Sanger's true mission remains alive and well throughout today's abortion industry.
Look at the maps. See where the abortion facilities are. They are near places where people are marginalized, people are poor, people are minority, and that's their target market.
Generation after generation, we have built a better world for our daughters.
Because of allies in the media and academia, Gaynor also points out how speech from conservatives and others about Sanger's past, Planned Parenthood practices, and abortion is often classified as hate speech.
There's nothing as close to a sacrament in the media as abortion. It is a holy writ that abortion is protected. And anybody who comes out against it, any organization, any business, anybody, the media swarm.
So does social media.
Facebook's new oversight board, and this is really concerning, has 4 co-chairs. They're going to be the appeals board for content. Well, one of the 4 oversight board is on the board of an pro-abortion group. There's no pro-lifers. They're not there.
The problem also exists on many college campuses.
I remember at Harvard, they laughed when I was talking about the history of eugenics, and they said, that doesn't matter. Planned Parenthood is not like it was during Margaret Sanger's days.
Those who oppose her views say not true, and are committed to exposing her past for future generations. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
Well, keep in mind this is a serious...
The reason why I played this video is because black trauma from the generations in this country been trying to alleviate different groups of people, but we're one of the top groups of people, black people. They try to knock out extinction. And from the beginning of time, when I showed the video about the present day, how when you're black, you come up missing, you get lack of coverage. When you're black, the media, like you said, people were so easy to go in on each other. Then I take you to the other video that we from the past, how the past of looking at those slave plantations, and people have the mindset. Some ignorant people have the mindset to see what it is. Then take you to the next video, is because Jim Crow. This is what it was really about. And see, as a black person of the different nationalities, you suffer the most out of most of every nationality. And when I look at those videos, I've never seen. There's always been abortion among different people, even with they say with the Latin American community, and I don't know if it's with the Native American community. I don't know too much about that, but they really came at the black community hard. And Harlem was where most of the blacks was at, so that had to be chance of coincidence that she would put it in Harlem, her first, and start out in Harlem, New York with that. Not Brooklyn, not Lower Manhattan, or the other, Harlem. So she had so much the devil in her that it was during her time, it was a vast population of black people in Harlem. And so she used mind trickery, and wherever she went, to reduce a population. Wherever there was a heavy black population during that time, even in southern states, she tried down and used the book in the Bible and trying to press some kind of morality. And you still have people who carry that Margaret Sanger spirit into this present day. You have your politicians that carry the spirit, and you think it's the conservative, and it could be the liberal person that's liberal, feminist, and they have an ideal. And this is one of the reasons why the white population is going to go down, because I believe they're going to reap the curse. Some of the people of white nation, they're going to reap the curse of what they've done to us, and how lack of empathy and care that they discard us as weeds, as she said. And I believe that there are people still to this day that feel that black people are just weeds. But it's coming a time that, as you see the population of rural and urban suburban areas, there are white people dying at a higher rate, and they're not having children either. So what she tended for one thing, it backfired on another group of people, because there are white Caucasian people are not having fast as their stats. They're not having fast as children in anything, and that's not way for the Most High God who intended all this to be. But this world's so evil when it comes to discarding a human being based on what demographic of the world they come from, what color their skin is. That's what's really sad. And that's why, as America, we're gonna be judged. The videos I showed you, we're gonna be severely judged. And this country is being judged probably as we speak, because of the death and destruction, and towards each other. But you see, we live in it. We in the last days. And now I see, sometimes when I see stories like this is some things that God sees, because I know He knows this is just heartbreaking, it's ridiculous. But the concept of another human being, to disregard another human being based on their skin color, based on their ethnic origins, that when He designed that person, but they have so much disdain to hate a person, that even if something would happen to them, it doesn't get that much attraction. When you have what's that young lady that anticipate down in the Bahamas, or the young lady that her boyfriend murdered her out there, and you see how they kept that story up. What's that, Petito, Nancy Petito, I think that's her name is. They found her body, but you see how fast they found her body? And even if they found her ex-boyfriend that usually killed herself. I mean, they had no problem tracking that down. But it's something that is strange, because sometimes, in some cases, when you're white, if you're not white, it ain't right. So that's why it's sending a message to any person of different races. Only a certain percentage of people get the coverage. And just like the brother said, that's something, ain't it? Some things ain't right, but some cases you can look at it. Mainstream TV to social media. Some social media sites will get main attraction, get more when it comes to, and they'll give you as a smidget. But mostly it's going to show the cases with white people get resolved faster than they do black people. And then I said, then if that's not one thing, they try to take you out in the womb. And they think black people are they're not going to figure this out. Well, you're just paranoid. Really? From the history of past to present. So when people see this video, they can see. Even the museum, just to remind you, that's how low in disgust they think of someone based on their ethnic background. That's how deep racism is. That it even affected us as a people. That we suffer from racial trauma. And I really admire the black people that get a chance to leave the United States and make their money. Because to unfold all that, to go some part of the world where you're a human being, you know, and it's like, and sometimes it kind of brings a tear to my eye because, like, wow, you can see the peace and joy over them, and you kind of want to be in their place because you are a human being, not being conditioned since for 400 years based on the color of your skin. Then you can see how in different avenues people are trying to stop you from whatever your existence is on this earth, simply because of the color of your skin. What I mean by that, they put politics when you try to get a house. They play politics when you try to get a job. They play politics when you try to have babies, and they play politics when they say, well, they want to see how hard black people can take pain. They want to torment you to death. It's almost like they get their rocks off. The medical community is guilty of this too. And they say, well, there's black doctors, that's true. But it's the discrimination on how the way they deal with patients in the medical industry. I don't know. But I just want to go show you the lack of empathy, and then we're trained to just not see each other as black people, as non-human. We don't even have sympathy for, some of us don't even have sympathy for each other. We just have sympathy, traumatic flashback to save the master, to save face with the people who we find have a godlike complex over us, simply because their background, their origin, their heritage. Some people in their heritage feel like that's the way it should be. I don't know. But I'm going to cut this video short. But yeah, it's really an eye opener, ain't it? But yeah, it's so much truth. But I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope to see you on the next video. You guys have a good evening. I'm about to go lay down. Alright then, take care.